The fence line runs for 30 miles through West Texas scrub country, where the heat doesn't just beat down on you, it crawls inside your lungs and makes a home there. Miguel Vargas cut through the chain link at 3 in the afternoon, when the temperature gauge on his stolen Ford pickup read 112 degrees. He figured the old man's ranch was the perfect place to stash the cargo, just until nightfall, when his contact from Nuevo Laredo could cross back over and pick up the shipment. 50 kilos of uncut product wrapped in contractor bags and duct tape. Easy money. In and out before sunset. The sign hanging on the fence said, "No trespassing," in faded red letters with a phone number underneath for the county sheriff. Miguel looked at that sign for maybe 5 seconds before he pulled the bolt cutters from his truck bed and went to work on the wire. Big mistake. The property stretched out in front of him like an ocean of dust and mesquite. No house visible from the road, no vehicles, no signs of life except for a hawk circling lazy patterns overhead, like it was already measuring him for a meal. Miguel drove his truck through the gap in the fence and followed a dirt road that hadn't seen grading in maybe 20 years. The suspension groaned over rocks the size of bowling balls. He checked his phone. No signal out here. He'd expected that. What he hadn't expected was the feeling in his gut that something was watching him. Not someone. Something. The desert has a way of making you feel small, and the longer he drove into that emptiness, the smaller he felt. Have you ever been in a place so quiet you can hear your own heartbeat? That's what it was like. Just the engine noise and the blood pounding in his ears, and that hawk still circling. He found what looked like an old stock tank about 2 miles in, a concrete basin half full of rainwater gone green with algae. Perfect spot to bury the packages. He killed the engine and stepped out into air so hot it felt like opening an oven door. The ground crunched under his boots. Caliche and dried grass that would snap if you looked at it wrong. He pulled the first package from the truck bed, and that's when he heard it, a sound like metal scraping on metal. He froze. The sound came again. Rhythmic, deliberate. Someone was racking a shotgun. Miguel's hand went to the 9mm Beretta tucked in his waistband, but a voice cut through the heat shimmer before he could draw. "Just leave it right there and walk back to your truck, real slow." The voice came from everywhere and nowhere. Miguel squinted toward a cluster of scrub oak about 50 yards out, but couldn't see anyone. His throat went dry, and it wasn't just the heat. He raised his hands slow, the package still dangling from his left. "I said leave it." Miguel dropped the bag and started backing toward his truck. His hand was still hovering near his waistband. "Don't even think about it, son. You pull that pistol, and you won't make it 3 steps. Miguel believed him. Something about the tone. Flat, matter of fact. The way you'd tell someone the time or give directions. No anger, no excitement, just cold certainty. He made it back to the driver's door and yanked it open. The interior was a blast furnace. He threw himself behind the wheel and twisted the key. The engine turned over once, twice, then died. He tried again. Nothing. Just a clicking sound like a rattlesnake's warning. He looked in the rearview mirror and saw him, a man standing behind the truck. Tall? Maybe 60 years old, but built like a man half that age. Wearing faded jeans and a denim shirt with the sleeves rolled up, wide-brimmed hat casting his face in shadow, and in his hands a Remington 870 pump action 12-gauge, pointed casual at the ground but ready to come up in a heartbeat. Miguel's blood turned to ice water. The man walked forward until he was at the driver's window. He didn't say anything for a long moment. Just looked at Miguel the way you'd look at a coyote caught in a trap. Part pity, part contempt. "You picked the wrong place to do business," Miguel found his voice. "Look, man, I didn't know this was your property. I was just cutting through. I'll leave right now, I swear." The man smiled, but there was no warmth in it. "You cut my fence, you drove 2 miles onto my land, you got 50 kilos of cocaine in your truck bed, and you think I'm going to believe you're just cutting through?" Miguel's hand inched toward the Beretta. The shotgun came up so fast it was like watching a snake strike. Barrel centered on Miguel's chest. "Don't make me tell you again." Miguel's hand stopped. Sweat poured down his face. The man reached through the window and pulled the Beretta from Miguel's waistband. "Nice piece. You keep it clean. I respect that." He ejected the magazine and racked the slide. A round popped out and clattered on the hood. He pocketed the gun and the magazine. "Now step out." Miguel's legs felt like water, but he obeyed. The heat hit him again like a physical force. The man gestured with the shotgun toward the scrub oak. Walk. Miguel walked. Every step felt like it might be his last. His mind raced through options: run and get shot in the back, fight and get shot in the chest, beg and maybe get shot anyway. The desert stretched out forever in every direction. No help coming, no witnesses, just the hawk overhead and the sun beating down like a hammer on an anvil. They reached the scrub oak and the man told him to sit. Miguel sat. The ground was hard and hot enough to burn through his jeans. The man stood about 10 feet away, shotgun held easy in one hand like it weighed nothing. He pulled a canteen from his belt and took a long drink. Didn't offer any to Miguel. You know what the biggest mistake people make out here is. Miguel didn't answer. He was trying to calculate distances, trying to figure if he could rush the man before that shotgun came up. They underestimate the desert. Think because they grew up in Laredo or El Paso they know heat. But this isn't heat. This is malice. This is the desert trying to kill you every second you're in it. The man took another drink, and the second biggest mistake is thinking an old man can't move fast. Miguel lunged. He covered maybe 3 feet before the shotgun butt caught him in the solar plexus. The air went out of him like a punctured tire. He hit the ground hard, couldn't breathe, couldn't think. Just pain radiating through his entire core. The man stood over him, didn't even look winded. I was dropping tangos in Quang Tri province before your daddy was born, son. You think I can't handle one skinny coyote with a death wish? Miguel gasped for air. His vision swam. When it cleared, the man was back in his original position 10 feet away. Shotgun casual, like nothing had happened. Here's how this plays out. You're gonna sit there till sundown. Then you're gonna walk back to your truck. I'll have it running by then. You're gonna drive back to that hole you cut in my fence and you're gonna keep driving till you hit Mexico. And if I ever see you on my land again, I won't give you the speech first. You understand? Miguel nodded. Could barely manage that much. His chest felt like someone had parked a car on it. Good. The man settled back against a rock, positioned himself in the only patch of shade within 100 yards. And you might be wondering why I don't just call the sheriff. Miguel had been wondering that, because out here we handle our own problems, always have. And because the sheriff's my poker buddy and I already owe him money, wouldn't be fair to add paperwork to that debt. The sun crawled across the sky like it had all the time in the world. Miguel sat in the full glare. No shade, no water. After the first hour, his lips cracked. After the second, his tongue felt like leather. The man just sat there, didn't move except to drink from his canteen every so often. The sound of that water sloshing in the metal container was torture. Miguel tried to think about anything else. His sister in Monterey, the girlfriend who'd stopped returning his calls 6 months ago, the $30,000 he'd been promised for this run. None of it mattered now. All that mattered was the sun and the heat, and the knowledge that this old man could have killed him a dozen times already, and chose not to. Around hour 3, Miguel started seeing things. Shadows that moved wrong, sounds that weren't there. The man spoke up. That's the dehydration talking. Your brain's trying to fill in gaps, trying to make sense of a world that doesn't care if you live or die. Out here, you're not the main character, son. You're just meat waiting for the sun to finish cooking you. Miguel wanted to respond, but his throat wouldn't work. The man stood and walked over, held out the canteen. Small sips. You gulp it down, you'll just puke it back up. Miguel took the canteen with shaking hands. The water was warm, but it was salvation. He managed 3 small swallows before the man took it back. That's all you get. Consider it a professional courtesy. The sun finally started dropping toward the horizon, orange and red painting the sky like a wound. The man stood and stretched. Miguel heard joints pop. Time to go. Miguel tried to stand. His legs barely held him. The man grabbed his arm and hauled him upright with strength that didn't match his age. They walked back to the truck in silence. True to his word, the hood was open, and fresh battery cables ran to a portable charger sitting in the dirt. The man had fixed the truck while Miguel sat in the sun, had probably disabled it in the first place. Some kind of kill switch or pulled fuse. The packages were gone from the truck bed. Miguel didn't ask where, didn't want to know. Get in. Miguel climbed behind the wheel. The man leaned in the window one last time. You got about 2 hours till dark. That's plenty of time to get back across. But let me make something crystal clear. He pulled Miguel's Beretta from his pocket, dropped the magazine back in and chambered a round. Then he set it on the passenger seat. I'm giving this back because a man traveling these roads at night without protection is asking to die. But if you're smart, you'll never need it again. You'll go straight home, you'll get a real job, you'll forget this ever happened." Miguel nodded, couldn't trust his voice. The man stepped back. "Oh, and Miguel?" Miguel looked up. How did he know his name? The man smiled, that thin smile again. "I kept your license while you were sitting out there. I know where your sister lives in Monterrey. I know about your mother in Piedras Negras. You come back. You send someone else. You even think about revenge. I'll know. And the next time you won't get the speech." He patted the hood twice like blessing a departure. "Now git." Miguel started the engine. It caught on the first try. He put it in gear and drove back toward the fence line. In his rearview mirror, the man stood watching until Miguel was just a speck in the dust. When he reached the cut fence, he stopped, got out on shaking legs, pulled the chain link back together as best he could, and used zip ties from his glove box to secure it. It wouldn't keep anyone out, but it was something. A gesture, an acknowledgement. Then he climbed back in and drove south without stopping, crossed the border at midnight, through the Beretta in the Rio Grande. Never went back to that part of Texas again. 3 weeks later, a package arrived at his mother's house. No return address. Inside was a cheap flip phone with one number programmed in, and a note in neat handwriting. "If you need work that won't get you killed, call this number." They're always hiring ranch hands who know how to keep their mouths shut. The phone's still in Miguel's dresser drawer. He hasn't called yet. But on hot nights when he can't sleep, he thinks about that day. About the old man who could have killed him but chose mercy. About the hawk circling overhead. About how close he came to being just another body in the desert that nobody would ever find. And he wonders if maybe mercy is just another word for a second chance you didn't earn, but got anyway. Have you ever had a moment like that, where someone had every right to end you but gave you a choice instead? That's the thing about legends. They're not just about being unstoppable, they're about knowing when to